So we got to talk about this AI thing. It's not just changing work, it is changing the world. It's rewriting all the rules we thought we knew. And if you think your job is safe and your industry is safe, in 5 years, 10 years, you have no idea whether that's true or not. In 1 year, these tools are going to be completely different and way more powerful than they are today. But I think the biggest shift that people aren't talking about is not that AI is necessarily going to replace your job, but somebody who's using AI better than you is going to replace you. So in this video, I'm going to break down how I use AI daily, where it still sucks, how people are getting it wrong, and what you should do to stay ahead. So I started using AI tools, most notably ChatGPT, back in November of 2022 when it first launched. And like everyone else, I was completely blown away by what was possible. I specifically remember messing around with a random employment law topic that my mom gave me as a test run. And I asked not only for it to give me information about it, but to make it into a song, and it did it coherently. That was my real open mouth, what the hell just happened moment. It's like that scene in the older Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire where he wakes up and he doesn't need his glasses anymore and he's totally jacked and he's ripped and he's got crazy reflexes and it seems like he can do anything. That's how I felt using this tool. I didn't even know what I could necessarily do with it, but I knew it was going to change everything. Before that, I think everybody's experiences with chatbots were like those trash customer service chatbots where you would try to be getting your internet fixed or getting your phone service restarted or something, only for you to click through all the options, and then in 5 minutes, it would just tell you to restart your router and then end the chat. So obviously, ChatGPT came along and it's a completely different beast. So fast forward a few years later, and I want to talk about how AI is impacting my workflow. So over the past few years, I worked for a big corporation and I worked for the government. But once I started working at a startup and I could use any tool I wanted, ChatGPT became an absolute necessity. It's the one tool I would use if I couldn't use anything else. Seriously, I would take it over Google if I only had one option. So technically my title is marketing manager. So obviously I'm doing a lot of marketing related activities. That's social media, event planning, some design work, stuff like that. In addition, I also run our podcast, The Journal Ultimatum. Check it out. Link below. Anyway, at this point, all of the work I do, pretty much everything runs through ChatGPT. So here are some specific examples. So for the company's social media, if I ever find a video or an article or something that I think is worth sharing, I write up the caption in the voice and tone that our company is going for, and then I put it into ChatGPT to fine tune it. It usually makes a great improvement on whatever we're trying to share and aligns even better with our company's voice and tone while still being optimized for whatever platform we need it to. It's like having a full-fledged social media strategist in your pocket. Who wouldn't use that? Second, with producing a podcast, it helps in so many different ways. The way I use it is actually going to OpenAI's Whisper model, which is a speech-to-text, open source, free to use, incredibly accurate, and useful transcription tool. I drop it in there, I get the whole transcript from the podcast, and then from there I actually feed it back into ChatGPT, the standard chatbot, and I get all the information that I need, which is like hashtags, tags, title ideas, description, the works. And initially I had to give it some feedback. I had to fix some formatting issues, make sure it was right on topic with our target audience and our voice and all that sort of stuff. But after a few weeks, it incorporated all of my feedback and it basically gives me everything I need perfectly first try. It saves tons of work and tons of mental energy. So I use this very same process with our long form podcast and any clips that come out of it as well. And finally, for event planning, ChatGPT is like my never tired all-knowing assistant. It helps brainstorm booth layouts and merchandise and gets people together on the listservs that we need and remembers detail. I can't even name all the stuff that it helps me with. It's basically like having another person on the team. It's fair to say that not only do I use ChatGPT at this point, I basically rely on it. It's like having a smart, never take days off, never tired, always on assistant who never talks back, who never complains, and just gets stuff done and will help you in any way you ask it to. There's no doubt without it, my workflow would be clunkier, slower, way more frustrating, and way more draining. Now, full disclosure, LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your favorite one is, they are great, but there's a few issues that they still have and things that they frankly suck at. Image generation seems to be a huge hit or miss topic. It seems like when I ask it for something and give it very specific instructions, it kind of just makes up whatever it wants and gives it to you and thinks it's doing a good job, even though it's not. But even if you ask to reproduce the exact same image again, it seems incapable of even doing that. So I tend not to rely on it for anything visual. And I get it. Based on how LLMs are structured, it's way easier for them to work with text than it is to see something that's visual like a human would see it. Fair enough, Sam Altman. Accuracy can also be a struggle, but I find that these chatbots are getting really good really quickly. Maybe a year ago, I feel like I would need to double check all the output that came out of a ChatGPT or a Claude to make sure that it was on the right track. But now I rarely check it all anymore because it's right so often. It went from feeling like that kid in class who's smooth talking but doesn't actually know what he's talking about to a no frills, shut up and talk research assistant who really knows their stuff. It's been pretty wild to see. So should you be using these tools in your job? 100% yes, you should. And if you're working for an organization that doesn't let you use something like this, get a new job. No, but seriously, these are tools that you are going to have to learn because they are so useful. They are transforming the world right now, and they're only going to get better. Now, with that said, I have to say, don't do it wrong. I think the number one mistake is that people aren't using LLMs enough. They should just up their volume and their reps with the technology so they understand better how it works. But the second biggest thing I see that's an issue is what I call garbage tier prompting. Boomers, Gen Xers, I'm looking straight at you. If you type in some vague one-line prompt and then you get a mid-ass response and then you go, see, AI doesn't work. Well, no, it's just the AI isn't psychic. That would be like pulling someone off the street into your office and giving them one line about putting together a pitch deck for a client. They're not going to do a good job because they don't even know who you are or what you want. The third mistake is what I call NPC type AI usage. These are the people who type something into ChatGPT and they just copy and paste and run with whatever the first output they get. And yeah, I'm talking about the people on LinkedIn who post this huge paragraph that uses all this flowery language and emojis and hashtags, and you can just tell that they did not write that. That's what I mean by sounding like an NPC. It's some dialogue that you really want to skip. And people, consumers, they're starting to get smart. They're starting to realize they don't really want to read AI-generated slop. So at the end of the day, AI isn't replacing people, but it's replacing the people who don't use it very well. Let's talk more about that. So the bottom line up front here is really to stay ahead of the game. There's all this conversation about will AI be taking people's jobs or ruining jobs or upending the economy and putting a bunch of people out of work. Honestly, I think that's the wrong way to be talking about it. Like when the automobile came around, did horse-drawn carriage drivers lose their jobs? I mean, yeah. But are we still sitting around mourning the buggy drivers and the buggy makers? No, they just went on and found new work. In a lot of cases, they found better, more productive work that was more economically valuable to their society. And that's just the way of things. Things go in cycles. And once technology levels up, everybody shifts and adapts and they move on to something bigger and better. Now, in the short term, of course, those buggy makers, drivers, horse breeders, they were all probably a little upset, but everything shifts. And then we move up the curve of technological progress and social development. And that's okay. And the biggest point is, with all the technological change that we've seen, even in the past 40 or 50 years, if tech was wiping out all of these jobs and putting people out of work, then why is our unemployment so low? All that to say is AI is not something to necessarily be scared of, but it's something you have to be ready for, which is why I say again, stay ahead of the game. The people with the advantage are going to be the ones who know how to use AI tools the best. Copywriters, marketers, engineers, you name it. The people who don't know how to use these tools well will get left in the dust by people who do. The game isn't about competing with AI, it's about competing with other people who may or may not be able to use AI better than you. So what's the move in the near future? Well, there's a few things. One is expect and embrace constant change. AI is evolving stupidly fast. You have to keep up with the newest tools and just start using them and see if you can get comfortable with them as fast as you can. Second thing is always be learning. If you're just standing still or you're using tools from 10 years ago, you're falling behind. One of the easiest examples of this is prompt engineering. Now, you don't have to go and be the next Sam Altman and learn exactly how these things work, but just spending a few minutes on the basics of how to get a good response or good output out of a chatbot is worth literally thousands and thousands of dollars, hours of your time. So it's one of the best investments you can make, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Now, third, on the other side of the coin, keep your bullshit meter on max sensitivity. Seriously, there is going to be tons of AI slop coming out in the very near future, and people are going to be using it, like I said, they're going to be using it like they're NPCs. They're going to try to pass it off as their own work. They're going to get lazy. They're going to get unproductive. If you're a manager of people, you got to make sure people know their stuff. They should be using these tools, but at the same time, it shouldn't replace their brain power and the human parts of their job. Because there's going to be human parts to every job, they've got to really be nailing those and know what they're doing. Although AI may be able to generate your sales pitch deck and write your emails and write some code, they're not going to be able to present it in person. They're not going to be able to build a relationship with our client, anything like that. So there's still a lot of work to do. So yeah, get good at AI. Don't get lazy. Get more efficient. So that's it. That's what I got. That's my take on AI. I think it's going to be one of the biggest advancements we've ever seen technologically. It's going to change how we do research, how we do math, how we learn, how we work. And it is important. It is critical for you to get on board and learn these tools as quickly as you can. That's it. If you guys are interested and you want to see more from me, check out one of these other videos, and I'll see you in the next one.